MIDDLEKAUFF! Heavy. That's why I'm taking my talents to promo code HAM.
Can I read you the quote of the day?
Yeah.
This is from Josh Allen, who's at Pebble Beach today.
Oh.
And he's actually, it's not a great, the Saudis, they bought all the sweet players who used to go to this thing. So Dustin Johnson signed an NDA, so he doesn't even have to talk over there. And the field sucks. Pro athletes, not bad, but he said if I could.
So Dustin Johnson's getting paid to not talk at the Saudi event.
Well, part of the elephant in the room, I guess, over there is they might, they have a $500 billion fund. They're going to fund this PGL. Like, they're really going to do it.
Yeah.
And him and Lee Westwood signed NDA, so they don't even get fucked with. Like, they don't even want to talk about it. But it's coming because they have an unlimited amount of money. And Josh Allen said, if I could play golf every day, I would. It's my favorite thing to do. That was just the quote. I love that quote.
Wow. Out on him, huh?
Well, I watched him. He was with Jordan Palmer a couple days ago. He's a terrible golfer. So it's not like he clearly is not playing a lot because he's bad. And think of where he lives, right? There's probably not much golf for a long period of time.
Buffalo?
Do you think that game that he played the Patriots, he could have played golf the next day?
Oh, God. No. I like my quarterbacks bad at golf, John.
Most of them are.
I mean, Mahomes.
Terrible. We saw Brady Manning.
Remember Mahomes at the Pro-Am with like a club that looked like it was 3 lengths too short for him?
Do you remember Tom Brady in the match? Remember Tom Brady in the match?
Tom did have, and you posted this, I think, Saturday during Tom's first retirement, an incredible shot. An incredible shot in the match. What's up, everybody? It's good to see you. This is a YouTube-only live stream. As you see in the title of the show, this is intended to be a 30-minute, right? 30 minutes. Can we do it? The haters say we can't do a 30-minute show. That we have too much to say and it's not possible.
Well, do you know what we have to do at 30 minutes? You know when the defense gets a stop and they all go like this?
Yeah.
Even though sometimes the guy's like, bro, that's a first down, but everyone goes like this. It's like, no, you're staying on the field. That's first down.
Why is this fourth down and not this?
I don't know, but clearly everyone does it. Yeah. I see everyone in the NFL. Like, that's just the universal. Feels like that started pretty recently. Niners do it all the time.
The guys just go run in the other direction. Like, your bench is over there. Where are you guys going? Why does the defense always run 10 yards behind the offense to celebrate? Why is that?
I think because they naturally get penalized a lot, screamed at a lot. They're just too excited.
Is it that like you're in when you go past where their line of scrimmage was, you're like in their territory? It's like invading their side of the line, man.
I bet there are some defensive tackles that, when a interception or a fumble recovery happens and you're going to go to the other side to go take a picture, they're like, bro, I'm not running 70 yards to come fucking dance with you guys over there. Like, I'm headed to the pitch. I'll see you guys back.
Well,
in about 5 minutes. I'm headed this way, and I'd go high five the coaches and sit down.
Eagle Eye Scout me. I told you about this. Go back and watch the Talanoa Hufanga touchdown against the Packers. Watch it. The first guy to celebrate with him is River Craycraft. The second or third guy kind of there is Josh Norman, and then he just peels away and goes to the bench, presumably to like get back to the heater or the jacket. Josh Norman's right there, and then they cut to like 8 guys celebrating in the end zone. Norman not there. He disappeared. He's there, and then he's not there. U-turn. Fight on. I'm out. Dave on the stream. We demand a Tito's explanation. Check the podcast. We did it. We just talked about it. We'd happily talk about it. Was that yesterday's?
We talked about it early on, I think, in the first
Tuesday
5 minutes of the podcast.
The podcast that just came out Wednesday, right? Yeah. So it's in the beginning there, but things are all good. Hopefully we can work something out. John, what's your line on that?
Ongoing dialogue.
We'll have ongoing dialogue. We're pro Tito's, big fans, and the relationship was great. Okay, let's talk about some stuff, John. Today was signing day in college football, but signing day has changed more and more and more over the last 5 years, where the early signing period is now really the signing period. That was 50 days ago, back on December 15th. In the time since, a few guys have signed. Most classes are signed on signing day. A few guys announce like at the All-American Bowl or something like that. You used to work in this, so you know. And then, of course, there's the portal. The portal is a big deal, and the portal doesn't stop, which is one of the things that you've heard.
It was a lot different when I was there. There was
the
one date, and it was this, and there was no portal.
That's right. There was no early date. There was just this date, and this day was huge.
Because I watched you talk with Herm Edwards today, and he brought up a good point. He's like, we have a scouting staff that is basically like an NFL scouting staff that's watching the portal guys.
Well, these staffs have gotten bigger. Yeah, there are portal assigned because the portal does not, unlike high school recruiting, the portal doesn't stop. I mean, there is a deadline to get to your new destination in order to play at that place, but that's like months away. That's in the fall, right?
If I'm at Iowa right now, could I put my name in the portal today and transfer tomorrow?
Yep. And if you haven't done your free year of eligibility yet, you could be on campus, the next day.
Would you say? I mean, how many coaches did you talk to today? 12?
No, we talked to I think 9 coaches today.
Would you say the majority of the programs leave scholarships available? Maybe one or two. Leave the
programs. Sorry, I thought you said programs.
Yeah, the programs. John. Do you think most of the programs around the country leave a scholarly or two just available, just so you never know? It's like leaving a little extra cash in the salary cap. You just never know who's available.
Well, our boy Jonathan Smith said it, and I think they all do. Like, you leave, you check your team out in spring, you see what happens. Maybe somebody else leaves somewhere else in the spring, right? Let's say you don't. Let's say you went through this January, you didn't quite get the quarterback that you wanted.
Did they?
Well, no, they have all their quarterbacks are still there. So there's going to be those guys, but it would not shock me to see them get a guy in the portal at some point. But you can do it after the spring, maybe after somebody else realizes they're not winning a job, right? That kind of thing. So no rush. Now there was
really quick, like Jackson Dart. Do you think will he be there? Will he go there right away, or a guy like all these transfers? Are they going to be there in the spring, going to class in spring ball?
Yeah, Jackson Dart enrolled last week. He's there. Caleb Williams enrolled. Like the deadline in SC was Friday for Caleb Williams to participate.
They have deadlines for the spring quarter or semester.
Yep. Yeah. Well, depending, right? You might be a semester, you might be a quarter, so it might be different. But I mean, most of these guys, it makes sense. Especially guys like imagine Bo Nix at Oregon. This guy Cameron Ward, who was the FCS, the award that Trey Lance won 3 years ago for the freshman of the year. I guess 4 years ago. This guy won the year after Trey. He just transferred to Washington State. His head coach at FCS is the new offensive coordinator at Washington State. Okay.
So is that a little college basketball-y move, you think, right there?
It's everywhere. OC at Oregon, Coach Bo Nix his freshman year at Auburn. Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams. There's another one.
But to me, there's
Kalen DeBoer, Coach Michael Penix at Indiana. He transferred to Washington.
But he's coming off a major injury. I would say even Bo Nix, right? He had been a starter at Auburn for several years. It was like time for a breakup. To me, where it gets like kind of shitty is if you had a sweet player at a smaller school, like when we were at Fresno, we had Ryan Matthews. Can you imagine after Ryan Matthews' freshman year, fucking people telling him and trying to get him to come to school, like Oregon, USC? It would have been very, very difficult to keep Ryan Matthews at Fresno State. Then you even take a step back. North Dakota State, I would say they're the number one program that, like Alabama, Ohio State probably won't be paying attention, but the Washington States, the Fresno States, all the teams that missed on that kid that might be from Boise, Idaho, Boise 2, Nevada, like, hey, man, you can come here right away and be our starting safety, running back. I think North Dakota State's going to struggle to hold on to people.
I'll sprinkle in NIL, although they held on to their guys this year.
North Dakota State?
No, Fresno State. Sorry, I thought you said Fresno State there. Yeah. Lane Kiffin made a thing about how much money Texas A&M throwing the report. Well, 25, 30 million they spent on their class, according to one report. Jimbo Fisher.
There is no $30 million fund. There is no $5 million. There is no 10. This is garbage, okay? And it pisses me off that people, and here it comes from a site called Bro Bible by a guy named Sliced Bread. Then everybody runs with it. So it's written on the internet as gospel. How irresponsible is that? And then to have coaches in our league and across this league say it, clown acts. All right? Irresponsible as hell. Multiple coaches in our league. And the guy's griping about NIL, griping about transfer portal, using it the most and bragging about it the most. It's bread. It's bread. By a guy named Sliced Bread. Site called Bro Bible by a guy named Sliced Bread. Site called Bro Bible by a guy named Sliced Bread. Then everybody runs with it. So it's written.
the best part about college football, like unlike the NFL, right? It would be Pro Football Talk would have these like stories. In college football, I would say Football Scoop, but really that's more like where guys get a job. I would say the heart and soul are like, Buckeye Nation, Bulldog, what was it in Fresno State? Sliced bread, whatever the fuck that is. Like that is kind of the heartbeat of these programs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He went on to rip the vice president of Notre Dame. The clip was like 2 minutes long, but I encourage you to watch all 2 minutes because he calls him, you're supposed to be reputable. He says reputable so fast. It's just reputable. He rips Notre Dame. He obviously talking about Lane there.
Did Lane drop the $30 million?
I don't know if Lane said the word 30, but he basically said like we don't have I wonder if Texas A&M's going in the luxury tax is basically what Lane said. You didn't see that quote?
No, I did.
Oh, okay. So as Lane takes photos with like Aston Martins and Ferraris,
Well, I think
Just
Nick had a comment too that it was getting ridiculous.
Yeah, so did Kirby.
And he freaked out like Nick just said last year that their quarterback got $800,000. So like now he's some moral superior. I will say this. I know some people at Power 5 programs. Obviously you do too. I have been specifically told about their program. They have an unlimited salary cap. I'd say the two programs with the most cash are them in Texas, separate from Oregon that is, it's technically Nike's, but like I'm talking the programs are Texas and Texas A&M, and both of them are spent like Texas was paying every single offensive lineman a guaranteed $100,000. These guys, they had the #1 recruiting class in the country, guy. Now, he actually had a good point. He said, well, last year we were 11-2. This year, all those kids that were interested based off our last year, what game do they want to come to? Alabama. What happened when they played Alabama at Texas A&M? They beat them. So that, I will. And here's the other thing I would say about Jimbo. He has proven. Remember, his squads at Florida State were pretty fucking loaded. Now, we might have been cheating.
He does say
what did Spurrier say? Free Shoes University.
That's a great quote.
Yeah, he called it Free Shoes University.
Everyone's got it's always somebody else. He did say in the clip, like, everyone's mad because we're coming. Well, I promise you, we're not going away. Like, he talked football trash, which I love. And they do they host Ole Miss this year, John.
Now, as someone that gambled on them, guy, fucking Lane beat them this year. Lane beat them.
Yeah, well.
That might be short-lived.
We'll see.
Did you see the
dart, baby? Here we go.
Well, they're getting linemen. That's like listening and reading some Feldman and just the people that know. One thing I guess Texas A&M has done the last couple of years is kind of done the Georgia, Alabama. They're not just going after Mike Evans. He's going after right tackles and D tackles that look like, the guys that Alabama and Georgia have. And if he gets that, he's going to dominate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I expect him to be good. He's got the Jimmies and the Joes, and he's a good football coach, right? Now, I'll say this.
Division's hard. Right, they got to beat LSU. Brian Kelly's there now.
But again, like they might not win the national championship. They might not even go to the playoff. But they're just, you look up, and you go, well, what, 10-3 at worst? If they got to get a quarterback,
they went 8-4 this year. Quarterback got hurt.
But even the quarterback wasn't great before he got hurt. Oh well, the young quarterback got hurt early, right?
Yeah, the first game of the season.
What was his name?
It's
Field.
Yeah, it's
King.
It's kind
King.
of it's a just
Haynes King.
Yeah.
Right? Haynes King, I think. Sliced bread.
Did Calzado transfer to the Pac-12?
Calzado transferred somewhere, but not to the Pac-12. So I don't know. I didn't get the impression that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart were like acting morally superior when they said it. David Shaw even said today. David Shaw was like, look, because his thing, Stanford's in a unique spot. They don't get guys in the portal. They actually got one guy in the portal. He won the Warfel Award, which is like community service, and was a finalist for the Campbell Award, which is like, people don't like calling it the academic Heisman, but that's just a simple way to distill it.
Why don't people like calling it that? What's wrong with that?
Well, because I guess it's not technically, I don't know. There's the people who
you don't have to be good. You don't have to be good at football.
Well, Justin Herbert won it. I don't know exactly. I've just heard people say, we don't love that name. That's not exactly what it is. Whatever. The point is that even David Shaw was like, if Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, who are at the top of the food chain, are saying maybe we should do something here, then that should resonate with people. Now, I think Jimbo's point was we're not breaking rules, but the thing is that I don't know how many people are getting turned in for what is quote unquote inducement, right? Like, we're going to get you this money is different than, oh, you showed up and you happened to connect with the car dealership, right?
But they don't have, do they have rules truly on this stuff?
The money cannot be used for inducement, right? So I can't say that I'm the coach, you're the recruit. I can't say, John, you come on over. I got a car dealership. We're going to hook you up. You're going to make $100,000 in your first 6 months.
Which is clearly happening because people, as Lane has said, people are shopping their offers.
Right. Which of course they are. And I've said this, if you're a coach, you're not allowed to talk about it with a player. You sit down in their living room and the parent says, all right, coach, what are we going to be able to do from an NIL standpoint? Like, we're looking for something in the range of 250, 300,000. That's what we want to make year one. So, what do you think? It's illegal for the coach to have the conversation. So what do they say? I would encourage you to enroll, and you can go ahead and send out some flyers to some local businesses.
Well, when Brian Flores saw Tom Brady's boat, he ran the other way. So I don't think many people are doing that.
I do think, by the way, the more I think about that story, specifically the $100,000 to lose each game, the real answer is, first of all, like $100,000. Like, you need to extend my contract if I'm going to lose games.
It was his first. He had a first year 5-year deal. I'm
just saying, $100,000 per loss. If I go 0-16, it's like
1.6.
That's less than my annual contract. So you better, because I go 0-16. Like, I am probably at the best I could get is 2 more years after that, no matter what. So I need you to extend my contract.
The thing with coaching, it is guaranteed contracts, right? So 5 years, 5 years. It's not
true.
Like players.
I'm just saying, add a year. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Anyway. All right, John. How about this from SiriusXM NFL Radio? Josh McDaniels on Derek Carr.
The opportunity to speak to him the other day, you could just sense how important, his faith is, his family is, and the game of football. And so he pours his heart and soul into those 3 things, and it'll be a really fun experience for me to have the opportunity to continue to build this thing with him as our leader. He's certainly capable of doing a lot of great things. He's done them before in his career, and I'm just looking forward to getting to know him, how he learns the best, what he does, and how we put this thing around him the best way we can to help him be successful and help our team, ultimately achieve our goals.
Oh, and there's the end of the recording on my phone. Your thoughts?
I think everything involving the situation, which we're a little biased, but I actually think it's got a chance to be one of the more fascinating situations in the NFL in terms of they're going to say all the right things. I think it's, without even asking them, Derek Carr is going to want to play for this coach. He's coached Tom Brady. He's an offensive guy. He's going to want to be here. He's already stated that he wants to retire a Raider. And Josh has already, he's going out of his way to say positive things, build the team around him. Do they extend his contract? Like, to me, that's, coaches say a lot of things. I don't judge anyone on words. Like, especially in business situations, you're judged on your actions. So, and I don't blame if it plays out this way. Like, I'd want to just play it on a year, see if we like each other. Because if you do extend them, now, and we talked before we hopped on here, remember Cousins was kind of randomly extended a couple years ago. But it was just like, it wasn't that crazy, but it was crazy enough that, like, right now they're still kind of stuck with him. His dead cap, it was like 2 years, 66 or 68 million. Paying him like low 30s, which if the cap jumps up, they probably went, it was a good deal. He's a top 12, 15 quarterback. I think if you're Josh McDaniels, you would do something like that in a heartbeat, right? Hey, you're owed $20 million. We'll give you a $70 million extension, and basically it'll be like 30-30-30. Obviously the way you do it with the cap's a little bit different, but essentially that. I think if they could do that deal yesterday, they would. It would make sense. And you're just kind of tied to him for a short period of time, 2 years. But as we've talked about with Derek, and we'll get into Jimmy destinations, the reason Jimmy has destinations is because there are a lot of teams, the Broncos, the football team, the Tampa, the Saints, that are going to try to win next season. I heard Sean Payton say, where was he? wasn't Patrick, it was with someone else. He's like, the hard part about leaving now is I had spent a large percentage of the last decade trying to get an elite defense, and we've had one now the last couple of years. I'm the offensive guy. I think I can figure that out, but we have a great defense. So whoever takes over that job, especially if it's Dennis Allen's going to go, if we just get who did Dennis Allen coach once upon a time and draft Derek. So I think the teams would be lined up to give Derek whether we agree or not, the money, the Dak Prescott contract. So it doesn't behoove him. Like Kirk Cousins was not going to get by the time they extended him, right, a 5-year, $150 million guaranteed contract. Derek would. Whether that's too much or not is irrelevant. The market's the market. But are the Raiders going to give him that before Josh coaches a game with them? Because I would imagine talking, everything he hears in the building, Derek's an early guy there, a hard worker, like all that stuff's going to check. But ultimately, it's going to be about his baby, which is the offense.
If you're Josh McDaniels and you do that now, you have locked yourself in, right?
You're talking like one of those big 5-year type contracts.
Yeah. If you do that right now in this offseason, you've locked yourself in, again, with a player who has said he doesn't want to play anywhere else. Doesn't want to play anywhere else. And the reality is, I think, the likelihood of Derek Carr becoming a free agent, like really becoming a free agent.
He would get traded.
Well, he would get traded. You could still, if you play the year out, you could tag him, right? Which
I meant if he's playing on another team, he's not just an unrestricted free agent signing a massive deal. If he's on another team, he is traded for a 1 and 2-2, for a lot.
Yeah, the point is like you're not going to play this year. The year ends, and then Derek Carr just walks away.
No,
like you can tag him with the intent to extend him, right? And if you wait a year to extend him, I don't know. I think he could play really well. Josh McDaniels, I think, is a really good coach, and Derek could play really well for him. How much more expensive is Derek next year than he is right now today? Well, he's more expensive to the Raiders, right? Because they would happily have him play for $20 million to $19 million this year. So he's definitely more expensive. The question is, how much more expensive, and is that amount worth Josh McDaniels getting a year to work with him? Does he go from $37 million to $43 million a year? I don't think so.
I mean, unless they were to win several playoff games.
Well,
or he's a Pro Bowl level guy, has the best year of his career.
Well, if he carries you, then either way, you're going to pay him like he can carry you. So let's Josh McDaniels might want to see if he can carry him.
Well, if I was those guys and had never been around him, but value we need a quarterback. He's a good quarterback. I think I can win with him. To me, my move, I'd have two options, and the third would not be to extend long. I would offer him the short-term extension at a higher number. I would obviously want to play this season out. I think you risk when you play the season out is that becomes a number one topic a lot of the time, right? And you kind of want to avoid that. You're constantly talking about it, the pressure. Pressure is probably the wrong word, but it's just kind of the elephant in the room. When things go
just
bad
it's just a cloud, not even a dark cloud, just a cloud. You remember those old some of you the motels. What was it? Motel 6? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
Murder in Davis back, I think, when I was in junior high. At the
was that the same commercial? Was that commercial the same? Was the guy was like, "Hi, I don't know, I'm from Motel 6." You know what I'm talking about? Was that the same ad? Josh McDaniels has been around. He's watched some football. He drafted Tim Tebow in the first round. You could conceivably go, you know what? I don't want to pay Dak's money, but I've seen some things, man. I coached Mac Jones this year. The year before that, I coached Cam Newton, man. I've seen some things. I coached Tim Tebow, man. I've seen some things. I know the odds of upgrading Derek Carr are low. So let's not mess around. Let's extend them. Between him and me, we're good enough to go to the AFC Championship game. I mean, hell, he made the playoffs with Rick Bisaccia as his coach this year. Pardon me. I know I got to the playoffs with Mac Jones. I won 7 games with half of Cam Newton's physical being 2 years ago. I can get Derek Carr to the AFC Championship game. Let's just do that and move on with our lives. We'll move on with our lives. Hi, I'm Tom Bodett, and we'll leave the light on for you. That's right. Good call, Dave. What happened to Tom Bodett? And are he and Tom Shane the same guy?
I just think they had a hell of a
wonder.
run.
HBO. I mean, you could get HBO, packaged into that $30 for
Oh, that was their big thing, right? That the Motel 6 had HBO.
I don't know. Yeah, they all did. Anyway, so that would be my devil's advocate is like, how are you really going to upgrade? Because you're not going to be bad enough to draft number 1. As we talked about with Trey Lance the other day, even if you're drafting top 10, that doesn't guarantee anything. So extend them and move on with building your program.
Yeah. Build your
Could I make that case?
Yeah, build your program.
Right? I mean, that's not crazy.
Yeah, to me, I would be in the market I would use that first-round pick to try to get a player and keep Derek. Like, I would try to do the Stephon Diggs, obviously you'd want something better. Not Jamal Anderson, what's Jamal's last name? Whoever the guy is on the Seahawks.
Sorry, who are you talking
Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams.
You know, I don't mean him specifically, but I would try to use pick 22 to get a impact player on my team immediately. And Josh's going to try to win next year, right?
Yeah. Dave says, do you think there's a Motel 6 in Antwerp? That's a Shane Co. reference.
What's
We get the finest diamonds from Antwerp. It's the Shane Company. I'm Tom Bodett. Brian says, who do you think will Josh McDaniels DC be? Wink? Mayo?
I don't know. It's a hell of a question.
I mean, people think it's Wink. I think Wink would make some. Wink would. Yeah, God, what a name, man. You kidding me, man? Wink Martindale. John, here's a list. Matt Lombardo from Fanside has covered the league for a long time. And this is what he writes. One current personnel director tells Fansided the expectation inside the league is that Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, and Denver are expected to make a strong push to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think 2 of those franchises have a lot in common. They are 1,000,000% trying to win next year and go to the playoffs. Steelers, Bucks. Right? Assuming, even if Arians were to retire and Leftwich takes over, Jason Light, they're trying to win. They're trying to compete to make the playoffs. But obviously both teams did. And both teams have serious quarterback issues. Roethlisberger stunk and he retired. And Tampa just lost the greatest quarterback of all time. We said peace. The Broncos have just kind of been in quarterback purgatory since Peyton. And if they can't get Rodgers, they are not just going to – their roster's too good, right? They went this year 7-10 or 8. I don't know, 8-9, 7-10. I think it might have gone 8-9. And their quarterback situation was an embarrassment. So I do think it makes he's going to go to a team like that. He is not going to end up on a team like, I know the Texans keep getting thrown. He's not going to end up there. And
Denver went 7-10.
7-10. But wouldn't you say if I gave them, if they had Jimmy Garoppolo, they would have been better?
Yeah.
Because you watched them, they were by no means, and we say this all the time about Fangio, right? He deserved to get fired or whatever, but they were not like some, I'm trying to think of team, Pat Shurmur's Giants, some of the team.
Oh, bro, the Giants.
Ben.
Look, the Giants have had a run. You could name any of the last 3.
They've had a mid
2000s
York Niner run. It feels like, right?
Oh my God, just bang, bang, bang. Here's the way I would put it about Vic is whatever you want to say about Vic. He's not one of the 32 best head coaches, but there's never 32. Like the 32 are. It's there's like 15
like
guys
quarterbacks, right?
And then 15, 17 guys that.
I would say this about Vic: if there are 15 guys like you would take as your head coach. He's probably in that next tier. Like you wouldn't want him as your head coach, but you could do way worse, like 16 to 32.
Yeah, you would. Your organization isn't going to backslide into Tom Sula's realm, right? I think Denver makes sense. I think Pittsburgh makes sense. Like Jimmy's better than Ben Roethlisberger, and they competed with Ben. They got to the playoffs this year with Ben Roethlisberger. It wouldn't be ideal probably from a temperature standpoint, even though I know Jimmy's from Chicago and all that. To me, part of it's just, arm strength and physicality. Jimmy gets hit and he's not quite the athlete he once was, and he doesn't make plays outside of the pocket. Neither did Ben, but Ben is Ben's a telephone pole. I mean, Ben's a big, big, big man, right? So the fact that he was a statue.
Big Ben.
He's Big Ben. Great name. It's really a great name.
Yeah, it is. Very simple.
What's up, Big Ben? But I think that makes sense. I think Pittsburgh would make sense. They've got some skill players. They would have some skill players around him there, right? Distribution.
If Ben didn't name his first son Ben and call him Little Ben, they're missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah.
But they've been dinking and dunking. They have a running back, right? They dinked and dunked last year with their wide receivers. They have good wide receivers.
Did you see Najee Harris said it last week?
What do you say?
They asked him. He was on like CBS Sports Network. They're like, Najee, who you want to be your quarterback? And he's like, oh, Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, I like him. Because someone retweeted my timeline a photo of Mason Rudolph. It was like, hey, man, what about me?
No one wants them.
So, yeah. There you go. Justin asked if Zach Wilson really sucks. Would the Jets have interest? Too soon.
No. Yeah.
Speaking of that, Mike McDaniel. His interview was supposed to be Thursday. Pushed back Friday with the Dolphins. No explanation as to why. Should he cancel?
Well, we said it when D'Amico. It's a big story because the Niners kept D'Amico, but you'd have to be a little naive, right, to think that D'Amico didn't kind of get word that, hey, man, you're not going to get this job. It's easy. Not that it saved face because he's already kind of playing with house money interviewing, but I don't think that's a true, like, I could have got the job and I backed out, even though it sounds really good. And I do think, potentially he made the right move. To me, the Dolphins I fucking feel pretty risky, man. One, their owner is he just sucks. I mean, he's proven to not be a very stable human. Like, the evidence is in, right? You could argue them, even if Brian Flores was the biggest asshole in the building, he's kept Chris Greer, who, like, it's clear they got into a kerfuffle, like a lot of GMs and coaches do, right? They don't see eye to eye, power struggle. And historically, a lot of GMs win that in the NFL. Why? Because they talk to the owner way more than the coach. And I think it's pretty risky, man. I wouldn't touch that. You're Tua. Now, it's easy. Like, what if they offer you, hey, we'll give you 5 years, $60 million, or I guess, so let's say $6 million a year. So 5 years, $30 million. And I always say this, like, it's always, well, what do you got to take the money? Well, yeah, if you're making $100,000 and you're going from $100 to $6 million, Mike McDaniel easily could make $2 million for Kyle right now. He's a multi-millionaire. So when you're a multi-millionaires
working in an environment you like for a person you like.
Yeah, you can turn down other $1 million opportunities when you have millions. If someone goes, hey, MIDDLEKAUFF, we'll give you $50 million for the podcast, the conversation between me and you might not last that long. I'm like, yeah, we probably just should do this and figure out the rest later.
Just pro Raiders for an hour every day?
$50 million.
Right? I'd be like, 75? Yeah. I mean,
but if the podcast was making us both $20 million a year and is going to pay $50, it'd be easy to say no if we were going to have to talk Josh McDaniels 24/7.
Yeah. The last trivia question, the last coach to have multiple 10-win seasons for the Miami Dolphins?
Jimmy Johnson. Oh, no, Dave Wanstead.
Correct. That means Saban, Cam Cameron, Tony Sperano, RIP, did it once. Joe Philbin, no. Adam Gase did it once. Flores did it once.
Good answer. They don't win a lot there.
I mean, they had a run.
Are they set up to win
Jimmy. Wanstead took over, went 11-5, 11-5, 9-7, 10-6.
I actually heard Dave Wanstead kind of being like, check my resume. I think it looks a lot better than the way people talk about me. I think he was competitive with the Bears, won double-digit games there a couple times. He's like, I recruited Shady and Darrell Revis.
His first 2 years there, he won 12 games. Here's the thing about him. He went 1-8 his last year coaching. Well, 1-8. But before that, his worst year was 7-9. He did. Actually, no, he had 2 4-12 seasons. Okay.
So you're saying he was 1-8 with the Bears and that he got fired like mid-season or whatever?
Yeah. Jeremy Bates, was that the guy that took over? Does that sound like a name?
Yeah, that sounds like a Russell Wilson offensive coordinator.
Jim Bates. Maybe it's his dad.
Doesn't Jeremy Bates
was
like
a Russell Wilson at 100%. Jeremy Bates was a guy who thought he got his big break when he became Russ's OC, only to do not that.
In fairness, Jeremy Bates, USC guy, was not there with Russell, but he was there with Pete, 2010.
Did he go back to SC after that?
Jeremy Bates' coaching resume, just typed it into Wiki. So USC 09, goes with Pete to Seattle 10, takes a year off, Bears quarterbacks 12. From 13 to 2017, nowhere to be found. Then he's with the Jets in 17-18. He's kind of run out of the league. Unemployed.
It's odd. All right. We said we would do 30. It feels, this is like pushing back from the table and you're only halfway through a hamburger. But
there is one more good topic.
What? Go.
Well, I mean, what's up with Jim Harbaugh? Like this, I would say usually a guy of his stature, when it's kind of you're connecting the dots. You see John Harbaugh's comment today? I don't know who asked him. I just saw the comment was like, someone clearly asked, should Minnesota hire your brother? And he said, if the Vikings are smart, they would hire Jim Harbaugh. So
how could he go back to Michigan at this point? It's so.
But I would say a guy, wouldn't you say of his stature, it's usually just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, right? For there not to be like an Adam Schefter or Rap Sheet or a Bruce Feldman, like all signs are pointing to them, they're working on a deal, or it's unofficially official, Jim Harbaugh is the next coach of Minnesota. That's a little weird.
It kind of makes me think it's that he's getting the job because Jim has been silent for a month, right? Wouldn't you agree? Since the Feldman report at the beginning of January, a month ago, there's not been any Jim.
Where would he talk, though, would be my pushback on that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying no one's leaking anything. There's no leaking. There's just Jim.
You're like, no, he's committed to Michigan. He wants to get a contract done.
Would you agree there's just been nothing? It's a bunch of people going, I don't know what Jim's going to do.
I text you.
And Minnesota's kind of a high-level organization. Maybe they're working on something. That's what
I do not, like, about probably by lunch today, it wouldn't shock me. Like, everything's on the table with Jim. If you just said he signed an extension with Michigan, just because he's such a wild card.
Well, somebody made the point yesterday I saw on Twitter. Someone's point was like, hey, we're talking about Jim Harbaugh here, so don't assume anything until it's done. The man's a walking
That's where I
curveball.
Stand right now.
Yeah. Evan says, how should Vikings fans feel? I'd be pretty fired up for Jim Harbaugh.
You just end up with Jim Harbaugh? Yeah, I would agree.
So,
you'd have to think like Vic Fangio would be his defensive coordinator, right?
Yep. And they could use Vic. Would be that'd be huge.
If I said, hey, you fired Mike Zimmer, who do you end up with? Jim Harbaugh is the head coach and Vic Fangio's defensive coordinator? Fuck. How many teams in the league would happily take that right now? I think I do think his star has just in the casual fan has diminished over his time in Michigan. Agreed. And I do wonder if it's a little unfairly diminished. People act like he's had a couple like 4, 5, 6 wins. He's never sniffed not 9 wins, right?
Well, I think the part where it might be fair is just, I think in the years since it ended with the Niners, it's become clear that it wasn't just the Niners couldn't handle Jim, right? Like
I do think normal in Michigan though. When you say
but I think people just kind of get that, like, Jim, it's not regular normal. It's relative normal. He's
a weird guy. He's a weird guy.
And that there are a lot of demands on people. And I would imagine Ziggy Wolf has the ability, Michigan's a major, major institution, to get in touch with some people and ask them, what do people think there? How's it going? Are people happy? Is he hard on everybody? Or does he have realistic demands? Is he easy to work with? Do you think he should be more successful than he is? I don't know.
Can he call plays, or does he just like to call the play that the offensive coordinator calls in?
Well, he doesn't call plays.
No.
What was the line you told me before we started about Jim?
I don't know. What's the line?
If I could remember it, I'd say it.
He's crazy.
Harbaugh? No. What was it? Jim at Michigan. I don't know. It's a great line.
Probably was.
Jimmy G would be perfect in Minnesota. What happened to the 30-minute show? We went long.
39.
All right.
That's the thing with the internet. They don't just cut you off.
Podcast coming at you tomorrow. More to talk about that we didn't get to today. We'll get to plenty more tomorrow on the show. Thanks for hanging with us on a quick live show. Later, everybody.